probably one of the best chapters in terms of lore. This is One Piece chapter 1136. It is titled The Land That Awaits the Sun. The cover page, it is still following Yamato's pilgrimage, where Hold'em brought her back to his secret base that has Who's Who's head as, I guess you could say, the landmark or identifier. And I don't know what this means, if Who's Who is really the mastermind, if it's other members of the Toby Ropo. Heck, it could even be Jack, because we really didn't get to see him much during Wano, so I'm not sure. Can't wait to see what's going on there. And I do think it's kind of crazy that he's building this in Udon after everything that's happened. You mean to tell me y'all don't got tabs on these people after y'all were just in prison and suffering for decades? I think we should definitely beef up security. In the last chapter, the celebration officially kicked off and everyone's having a good time. Luffy, he's eating moose meat. Usopp's doing his standard typical telling lies about how he was the one to defeat Oars. There's the giants that are complimenting Jinbei's skin color with hopes of eventually being able to go to the Fishman Island, as well as one of the giants. They're talking about how they want to see a mermaid, which turns Sanji's radar on, because he talks about how the mermaid inlet was like heaven on earth, and I can't blame him because those mermaids were all over him. So yeah, it probably did feel like heaven. I will say, whenever Sanji is talking to girls, he's definitely hit or miss when it comes to his riz. There are definitely times when he's smooth with it, and then there are times where he's a little bit cringe. And in this chapter, oh my boy, he was smooth with it, giving compliments to the female giants who were attending the party. As the Straw Hats are celebrating, Road, he pops up to apologize to Nami and the Straw Hats, and man, he looks terrible. I know that they beat him up and it looked like he was about to get crucified, but he low-key looks worse than whenever Nami would beat the heck out of Luffy. Nevertheless, the Straw Hats, they accept the apology because nobody died, which is only because of Usopp's interference in telling them to stop fighting, because if not, oh, my boy Zoro, he was definitely about to cut Road's head clean off his body. Y'all already know we're in the ore farming era, and Zoro, he definitely had to get something in because he was falling behind Piccolo and especially Sung Jin Woo now that Soul Leveling Season 2 is dropping weekly. Something that's interesting to me is based off of what one of the giants stated about bounties. I wonder if he's referring to the Straw Hats post Wano bounties, or if he's talking about their Egghead bounties, because the narrative that was written was that Luffy, with the giants' assistance, burnt Egghead to flames, and Luffy was the one to murder Vegapunk. And we know that Dory and Broggy, their bounties went up significantly. Granted, part of that was because of inflation, but still, if the Straw Hats didn't get a bounty increase, I'm not gonna say I'd be mad, but at the same time, to me, it wouldn't really make much sense, especially with how Vegapunk was such a renowned mind working for the world government, and Egghead was a government affiliated island, and the fact that during Marineford, Impel Down, and Enies Lobby, the Straw Hats and Luffy for the Marineford and Impel Down part, his bounty went up and their bounties went up. So the fact that their bounties wouldn't have gone up after Egghead, that would be kind of crazy. Also, circling back to Road, he's a freak. He's a freak. I thought Sanji was bad, but Road, he might have that top spot on lock. Because after hearing this, Gerd told Zoro not to hold back and kill Road next time. And you want to know what Road did? My boy Sploosh talked about how stimulating this was. He's freaky, definitely has a few kinks. Kinks aside, this is where we got into a little bit more of the lore of One Piece, specifically insights on how the giants view the sun god. Because apparently everyone born on Elbaph at some point wanted to be the sun god and rule the world. There's also a little bit of discourse and confusion as to what exactly the sun god is. Is the sun god a ruler, a god of liberation, a god of laughter, of destruction? All we know is based on the ancient religious text, the Harley, is that the world was destroyed twice in the past, and more likely than not, this is probably the original Nika and then Joy Boy. But each time that the world was destroyed, sun god Nika somehow was affiliated with it. However, since the texts are so ancient, they can't be translated anymore, hence the confusion. And And this is because of a lapse in information. People, they're essentially going to say whatever they want, or at least whatever they heard. Think of it as a game of telephone where you whisper in someone's ear what you believe that they said. And in the end, the original word, it gets misconstrued and everyone thinks something different. One thing is for certain though, the fact that Nika wears white clouds around him, appears with white hair, clothes, and has a jolly laughter. Hence why whenever Bonnie and others say to Luffy that he reminds them of Nika, well, this is where they got it from. Circling back to what Rhodes said, Loki wanted to be Nika, and we get a little bit more of the lore that was revealed about King Harold, that it was prophesied that his own son would eventually kill him. And so this begs the question if, because you see so much of how they believe in history, how they believe in prophecy, if a lot of people, we know that there's Haruda and Loki, that those are Harold's two sons, I wonder if people forced the narrative that Loki was just going to be some big bad, and because of this, Loki kind of embraced it and has done everything that he's done. Because not only that, the royal family's luck horse was killed right after Loki was born, which was the same year that Big Mom ended up killing Drill. Then the queen passed a year after Loki's birth. He made the underworld his playground, and all the pranks that he committed, it threatened the lives of the giants. Heck, even Chief Jarl tried to stop Loki, which is why he has that sword through his head. There are two things that I want to discuss. Number one, we got the reveal of who stopped Loki, but before we get into that, I also want to talk about a little bit of how Loki and Zoro parallel. I've said this plenty of times. I am a firm believer that Loki was framed and that he is not actually a bad guy, at least to the level of what the giants are saying that he is. He may not necessarily be a saint, but being, I don't want to say it, but they're acting like he's the spawn of the devil. And my reasoning is because it's so in your face of how the giants are making him out to be such a bad person. To me, it's just a little bit too forced. Even in this chapter, when Luffy, who can read people, claimed that Loki was a good guy, everyone shot him down immediately, which reminds me of when Luffy and Kobe were talking about Zoro in the beginning. Luffy saying that, hey, he might actually be a good guy, and Kobe, he shut that shit down. Similar to Zoro, I believe that Luffy, that he's going to end up learning the truth and be the one to free Loki. But if you guys have made it this far into the video and you're enjoying the content, let me know by leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell so you guys don't miss out on a new video. I pump out different One Piece content almost each and every day. We found out in this chapter who ended up putting a stop to Loki. It was Shanks, and that happened 6 years ago, and we speculate this is how he became a Yonko. Not just me, but there are plenty of members within the One Piece community that came to this conclusion, and I'll be making a video about the Yonko later this week, so stay tuned to that, because I think it's kind of interesting that Shanks, after stopping Loki, he didn't turn him into the world government, but he ended up bringing him back to Elbaph. Anytime that Shanks' name is brought up, Luffy, he gets these twinkles in his eyes, and Zoro, he paid attention to that, and that's something that I love, because Zoro, he definitely just pays attention to Luffy and notices whenever he's on edge, which he was a little bit fidgety this entire time. This is because Loki's proposed to him that he'll tell him some information about Shanks and his location in exchange for freedom. So instead of letting Loki go free, Zoro said that they'll end up getting the key, and they'll decide if he's telling the truth or not, and if he's not, they'll end up beating him up and send him flying. Nami's here too, because if Zoro and Luffy are going to do something like this, they're definitely going to need a navigator, as well as, well, she just wants to get some of the treasures that's been located in the castle. Road, he's there as well, as he is her third slave behind Zeus and Nami, and I respect him for trying to get close to Nami, but she shut that shit down immediately. Gotta give him credit, because hey, she bad, and at least he shot his shot. The chapter ends with us back at the underworld with the Holy Knights, as they're there to try and recruit Loki to join them. But even Loki, and this is another reason why I don't necessarily think that he's this bad or this evil presence, because he even mentioned how the Holy Knights are probably celestial dragons, and he doesn't want to join them because well, most of the world considers them to be the scum of the world. Gunko, who is the female Holy Knight, oh, she's sick of Loki and she's like, I'ma kill his ass. All of a sudden, one of Loki's pet wolves tries to attack her, where she uses her ability to strangle the wolf, and to me it kind of seems like she can make arrows or manipulate her clothing into some strong bandages, which is how she was able to strangle Wolf. When given the option to exchange Wolf's life for Loki to join the Holy Knights, oh, Loki, he stands on business as a warrior, saying that he'd be sad, but he's going to use Wolf's death as rage and bring the world to ruin. A few things to note. Number one, I'd expect that we get a clash of the Holy Knights and the Straw Hats that were heading towards the castle. I don't necessarily want to say in the next chapter, but definitely in the coming chapters, especially because when they get to the castle, they're going to see that the giants were unconscious, and probably they'll tell them that the Holy Knights were headed to Loki. And I sure hope that Zoro doesn't get lost somehow, because, well, I'm not gonna lie, at the beginning there was 2 instances where I think he could have gotten lost and he didn't, so it's only a matter of time before he does. Another detail that I want to talk about is how Loki, he didn't react to B-Hank saying anything or even his appearance, and this is obviously because Loki, he has bandages around his face, so if he was able to see, he probably would have freaked out, or at least made mention about Shanks because of the history that the two have. And this further reinforces that B-Hanks, this isn't Shanks, because, well, why would he ask for intel about Loki or where he's located, since he was the one that ended up defeating him? But yeah, that's it for chapter 1136. Let me know how you guys feel about this chapter in the comment section below. Shit is about to get real. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video from me. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok is on the screen and in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to unleash your potential.